90s.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm a bit sleepy, but I'm all right.
That's an excellent start. That's how you want to start a podcast. You want to start sleep deprived. Your hair looks amazing, so that's definitely positive, right?
That's very kind. I don't know what it's doing. It's sort of straight on one side, out, and it's quite static, and I don't know what to do in such situations. But thank you very much for your compliment.
No problem at all.
You've dressed up. You've got a tie on. Is it?
I have.
What's happening?
Well, I didn't feel I was in a position to back away from the dressing up. Do you know what I mean? Even though this one was quite tricky, but
You're
I felt
in it
like
now.
I've started now, so I can't stop. I just hope there's nothing like later in the podcast where I have to dress as like a dinosaur or like a zombie. Anything that's complicated that involves makeup. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but hopefully we should be all right.
That's a lie. You can't wait.
No, literally, my mind was already racing about how I can make that happen as I was saying.
Is there a Halloween special?
Ooh,
there is now.
There should be, and there will be.
Sorry, Neil.
But we've got a very exciting situation this week. Very exciting, because for a long time we haven't had a guest on the podcast. And this week we do have a guest. And who is that guest?
It's Joe.
It's Joe Studley.
Ta-da!
Hello. How you doing?
I'm good, Joe. I am actually, full disclosure, in the same room as Joe. It doesn't look like that if you're watching this on YouTube. Hi to the 7 or 8 people who watch it on YouTube. But yeah, we're it's through the magic of telling us, through Neil's silky skills, it looks like we're all broadcasting from various different places. But in fact, that's a massive lie. We've deceived you from the very get-go. Joe
I'm
is sitting...
not there, though. I'm not there. I'm somewhere else. If that helps, it probably doesn't.
Miriam is at an undisclosed location.
We are sitting uncomfortably close.
We're both men, quite comfortable in ourselves, but we are he's very close to me. At any moment, if there's a violent disagreement, it could easily erupt into a physical conflict. I don't want that. He's a much fitter man. And even though I'm on my home turf, so I'd be able to get weapons from anywhere that I needed them, I still think his training would have the edge. So that's the risk, but I'm willing to take it. But we should start by asking Joe to have a delve. If you would, Joe, have a thorough delve into the How Have You Been bag.
Okay.
Go for it.
How do I do it?
Well, you just sort of imagine the things that have happened to you over the last sort of week or so period of time. I mean, take it as long as you want. Don't go back to like, your 16th birthday. That's too much. But just tell us, how have you been? And maybe just imagine yourself doing a rummaging motion. So things are at the top. Come out first.
So start from the top and then delve deeper.
Yeah, give us the superficial shit first.
Yeah, fine, really. Yeah, enjoying life. It's sunny. There was a big storm. Now there's not one, so that's good. What else have I been doing? I went to France. Actually travelled, which is nice. You
went to Paris, right?
I did. Went to Paris. Saw a singer out there. Getting involved in the music, keeping it topical.
Did you at any point, what touristy attractions did you hit up?
Well, we were quite late for everything, so we ended up seeing most of the attractions in one day on one of those boat taxis. So we took the easy option, just looking at all the attractions out of a window from watercraft.
Did you have like a tick sheet, just like yes?
Well, I think
Notre Dame done.
Well, yeah,
done.
We just saw where the boat was going, got on it, and then just saw stuff. So we saw Notre Dame, we saw a couple of museums, Eiffel Tower, obviously. Didn't get to the Champs-Elysees because that involved walking, so I didn't see the Arc de Triomphe. But everything else was done by boat. Pretty happy with that in about 2 hours.
That's
That's
incredibly
really nice,
efficient
because
sightseeing.
I
yeah.
remember we did something similar when you guys came to visit me in London, and we went on the Thames Clipper, and I think it's one of my
Yeah.
favourite things
Oh,
that's
that was-
ever happened to me was just your two faces, because you'd never been on one before. You looked like so excited. It was the best.
We looked like 7-year-old boys
Yeah.
who'd been allowed to go on a special boat.
I think we were slightly baffled that you could actually commute on one of
Yeah.
those things. Like you didn't have to walk or go on the tube. You could get on a boat and have a much better time.
Yeah.
It's not a cheap way to travel, but it is a fun way.
Yeah, I think I would happily take that Transport for London hit if every day I could arrive to work via boat. It would make you feel like a spy, I think, wouldn't it? But yeah, I've not been to Paris for absolutely ages, or anywhere for ages, so I am quite jealous. But did you see any art?
Didn't see any art apart from the music.
Yeah, I mean that is art, I
Yeah,
suppose. As we'll come on to.
Yeah, went to the Palace of Versailles.
Oh yeah, I'm quite jealous
where
of
there
that.
is lots of art,
I've
but
never been there.
it's mostly of Louis XIV.
Yeah, not a handsome man.
Almost all paintings and sculptures in that place are of the same guy, which is really, really weird. I couldn't help admiring it, but it was pretty intense. Like him dressed up as different Roman gods, and in different positions in battle dress. It's all very strange. And each room it leads into the other, so there's no like alternate routes. So to get to like your bedroom, you've got to walk through the guard room and the kitchen and the bit where the politics is done. It's all very weird.
So I mean, if you need like a quick whittle late at night, what are you going through? 7 or 8 large ballrooms before you're going to get an opportunity to do
I mean,
that?
I imagine they bring the whatever it is to the man himself who's just sat there doing now. I imagine he has servants or had servants for that very purpose.
In fact, funny enough, one of the very few facts I know about this shows how my mind works. One of the very few facts I remember about the Palace of Versailles is it has almost no like provision for you to like use a bathroom of any kind. So they said that they were all curtains in all the corners, and like frequently people passing through would be able to hear just people relieving themselves behind a curtain in the corner of the room because there was nowhere else to go. I think it was like once a year they had to clean the whole palace, and that took like 2 weeks because it was so disgusting. I think as well, when you look at Versailles, I find myself going, do you think that's what Mark Zuckerberg's like aiming towards? Do you think that's what he'll eventually have? Just like a massive marble palace where there's just pictures of him dressed as Roman gods. Is he
so that you can like do a little whittle in the corner behind a curtain?
I think so.
I mean, maybe
Is
not
that what you're
Zuckerberg.
aiming for?
Yeah.
I'd say Musk definitely, like but it'd be more like big murals of him riding a rocket with a cowboy hat.
Yes,
on,
I imagine him straddling, legs akimbo, straddling a rocket, but he's dressed as something incongruous like Joan of Arc, just because he has to be a bit different. I think, yeah, that's what it'll be. I imagine that's probably what he's already got.
I need this to happen now.
I can make it happen.
I mean, whichever way we do it,
I've
I
got
need to see
contacts.
that image.
I mean, sometimes some images, I will say, are better just in your mind. Because once you fully realise I'm that object in the world and everyone has to deal with it. And I'm not sure. Is he naked in your imagination?
Obviously.
He is in mine.
Obviously. Apart from cowboy boots and cowboy hat.
And he's got
If
those
that's all right with you.
those like uncomfortably large nipples that you see in, when it's like that doesn't look that He-Man size ones, they don't look quite right. That's what I imagine he's got.
Okay. I wasn't taking it there, but now I have to.
I've
Put that image in my
I've
mind.
said too much. I've said too much. But that's, I mean, thank you, Joe. Thank you for that bit. Is there anything else that you'd like to rummage through the bin bag? I mean, you've been to Paris is pretty exciting.
No. I mean, we've covered public urination. Actually, my father-in-law did end up urinating on Versailles, and I thought it'd be like a sort of Ozzy Osbourne on the Alamo situation. So I was looking around, expecting there to be some sort of horse-mounted guards with pikes or something coming around to arrest us and or kill us. But it didn't happen. It wasn't that eventful. But
you were ready to be like the absolute king of son-in-laws by defending your father-in-law whilst he whittled at Versailles.
Oh no, definitely not. I would have dived into the nearest peasant trench. Actually, there are peasant trenches on the outside. That's where we were at the time because we were going on a long walk round. We couldn't get into one of the bits of the ground. We ended up doing like a long walk around the perimeter. Hence, we got caught short. But we noticed that there are these things on the perimeter wall where so whoever it was, Louis XIV, I think, could get like a good view.
Mm-hmm.
There's big gaps in the wall, so you can see to like the horizon. So it didn't feel like he had a wall around him. But those bits where the wall is missing, there's these huge, like, peasant trenches.
I mean, you've
I
said
thought
the
they were
word.
called a ha-ha.
Really?
Aren't they called ha-has?
Can I just
know.
call time, right? He said peasant trench. I don't know
Yeah.
what that is. Everyone's been like peasant trench. They've all accepted that. Then
Yeah.
you've said, oh no, I've got an alternative name for a peasant trench. It's called a ha-ha. I'd like to pull it all the way back to what the fuck is a peasant trench?
I mean, I asked specifically an official Versailles person
That's
what
a
they were
peasant
for,
trench. Yeah.
and they were like, "Yeah, it's a trench for peasants." It's like,
So it's
well,
like
if
a
peasant
moat
trench.
that's like dry. So it's like
yeah.
a big ditch, like all the way around, so you can't just wander in. But
Yeah, so it's
because
all been
like
built
the
out of
same
stone.
level, you can still see the beautiful view that you've paid
Yeah,
for.
exactly. So you can
Yeah.
see like to the horizon through a gap in the wall, but that gap is covered by a really, really deep hole that was built up out of stone. So if you fall in it, you're not getting out of it.
I see. I was imagining when you said that it was like a moat all the way around the palace, and the peasants were like flowing like water, like as. or a bit like a hooker duck.
Even
so there is
now.
some water in there, but they're all kind of bobbing around, and it's just thick with peasants. And you can hook one out if you like the look of one, and potentially win a prize.
I feel I missed out now. It wasn't like that at all. It was just a hole. Just a gap in a wall and a big hole.
Wow,
There you
I
are.
feel like I've learned a lot about peasant trenches. Miriam, how about your bin bag? Would you like to have a rummage and tell us what's in there?
Yeah, so I've just woken up really because so I'm a bit behind. But I was helping with a murder mystery party yesterday, and I had to play the part of an inspector and a stage manager at short notice. So I'm just recovering from that at a party in a hotel in, I think, Buckinghamshire somewhere. Yeah,
Wow,
that's what I've been up to.
Wow. Let's just leave my bin bag to what I've got. I've got nothing to compete with this shit. I've not been to the Palace of Versailles or portrayed an inspector in a murder mystery party in some sort of fancy hotel in Buckinghamshire. This is no, I've done.
It was
nothing.
quite odd as well because it was a surprise to the guests. So the birthday person organised it for everyone that was coming. So they were sort of thrown in at the deep end and had not expected there to be a murder mystery happening and were very, very confused and some slightly disgruntled.
I just want to raise my hand in sympathy with those people, as I have myself got a birthday coming up. If anyone was to do a surprise murder mystery birthday party for me, they clearly don't know me very well.
It's the other way around. Like you've organised it for your friends.
I know. So I'm
you know, but no one else knows. It's a fascinating idea.
I mean, we better talk about our arrangements for Sam's birthday. I didn't know any of this. Didn't know he felt so strongly about it.
As I've said,
I have to rethink our surprise murder mystery for Sam.
If I'm not mistaken, many, many years ago, you said you were going to organise me a birthday. I said like you didn't do it. You did do it. You said, what do you want to do for your birthday? I'll organise your birthday party. This is when we were like in our mid-20s or something. And you said, what kind of theme do you want? And I thought about it for a bit and I just went, beer and chairs. That's what I want. Beer and chairs. That's all I've ever really needed for a celebration of any kind. So that's how boring and quite spoil sporty I am. But yeah, I don't do well with thematics. He says dressed like this. But yeah,
you
fancy
theme
dress.
Right now?
What you've done there is you've in a buttery smooth way, delicious buttery smooth little link.
That was dreamy. You've done this before.
Yeah, you've podcasted before.
The 90s.
We come on to our the reason I'm dressed like this is because today I don't want to use the word advocating, but I feel like that's what's going to be happening in the end for the band Menswear. But that's later, because obviously Joe is our guest, we need to defer to what Joe has chosen to discuss in our podcast today. So Joe, what have you brought us?
Well, I felt the need to bring up the band Terrorvision. I think it's very important. We've heard a couple of musical references, but this one's very important to me. So I thought I'd bring it forth to discuss not only Terrorvision, but their album Regular Urban Survivors.
Look, it's a lovely choice. It's a lovely choice. And I must admit, when you said you're going to choose Terrorvision, it was one of those things where I have not thought about Terrorvision. Actually, no, that's not true. The last time I thought about Terrorvision was the last time you brought up Terrorvision.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, you do perhaps with more regularity than you realise.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the only reason I know about Shed 7, to be fair.
Well, other than their global super presence in everyone's lives.
Yeah, sure. That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will keep referring to that because at any point after K, if I start being mean about Terrorvision, which I just want to get, I will never do, then I would have to obviously take my licks about Shed 7, which I'm not prepared to do. So, yeah, I mean, the regular Urban Survivors, to my mind, is a maximum high. I think.
I'd say it's fair.
Or is it? So is it? Do you love it as much as I love Spin Doctor's Pocket Full of Kryptonite? Is that what's happening?
I think it's different for this reason. I love Shed 7's A Maximum High, or A Maximum High by Shed 7, a lot. But I understand. I love it in a slightly defensive way because I have to. Because that's the way I have to live. Because people go Shed 7, and I go don't even. And I think you're probably the same with Terrorvision. Whereas I think your love of the Spin Doctors is entirely uncomplicated by other people's feelings. You just go, I like the Spin Doctors. Your opinion is immaterial to me. And I think that's the right way to be.
No, I think my feeling about Terrorvision is more a case of if someone says they don't like Terrorvision, I immediately go to, well, you haven't heard enough Terrorvision. But kind of, why would you have heard more Terrorvision? Because they're not that popular, not around as much these days. They weren't really that popular back in the day, but had more people heard them, So it's basically a failure of marketing, I think.
Well, I mean...
Well, that's really sad.
It is. I've tried to tie this back in a clever way to our first episode when we talked about A Maximum High by Shed 7, in the sense that one of the things that I felt was very important is that we discussed the who, the when, the where, the what, and the why of regular Urban Survivors by Terrorvision. And that's what I'd like to do. Now, what I'm going to do is, which I think is quite magnanimous of me, I'll do the who, and I'm more than prepared to do the when. I'll also do the where. But Joe, you are going to have to handle the what, and more importantly, the why.
And how. You always forget how.
Well, I mean, how? Yeah, all right, we'll do the how. I think that's the thing. Ultimately, I don't care about how things happen. I just care about when and what they are. I'm deeply uncurious about those things. So let's begin. I've prepared some remarks. So who is regular Urban Survivors by Terravision? That would be Mark Yates on guitar, Lee Marklew on bass. You've got Tony Wright on vocals, and in the credits of this album, Shutty on drums. That's which I've later found out is Ian Shuttleworth, but I'm never going to call him that. It's just Shutty, which I think is delightful. And sort of in my mind, it's in a Bradford accent, but I can't quite get it right. When that would be 11th of March 1996 is the release date. That's when that was birthed into the world. Where is regular Urban Survivors by Terrorvision? Well, that is Yorkshire. It may have been recorded in London, but this whole recording is Bradford to its bones. Everything about this is the swaggering sound of Yorkshire rock. So that's definitely the where. So I guess it only comes to me to turn around to you, Joe, and say, why is regular Urban Survivors by Terrorvision?
It's a very good question. It fits very weirdly into the music scene, and that's kind of why I liked it. I sort of see Terrorvision as a bit of a British Guns N' Roses at a time when no one really wanted to hear Guns N' Roses, let alone a British version from Bradford / Keighley. So why is a tough one, but why not, I'd say. That is pretty much what I say to anyone who questions Shed 7. Why not? Yeah. Would your life really be better sans Shed 7? I think not. Mm-mm. Would your life be better sans regular Urban Survivors by Terrorvision? I think not. Absolutely not.
So, Miriam, had you heard this album before?
No, I hadn't. It was brand new, and I listened to it this morning.
Not even. You must have heard the singles, though. Was there not a moment when this went, "Oh, I know this one"?
Honestly, no. Which I feel really bad about.
Joe, you are staring at the face of a person who has experienced Terrorvision for the first time today. Does she look changed?
I think so. Renewed, enriched.
I think so.
More people could be like you, Miriam, if only the word was out there about Terrorvision and specifically this album.
That's what we're here to do. I'm here to offer a counterpoint, but ultimately I know what Joe's going to be doing is lobbying for television. Television. I know I'm going to do that so many times throughout this podcast. Terrorvision. Just as a side note, Terrorvision also a great band, but not from the 90s, so we can't discuss them and won't discuss them.
It's a slightly problematic name, but it's better than the name they had before.
Oh, I thought I'd done good research here, but what is the name they had before?
The Spoilt Brats.
Yes.
Brats spelt with a Z.
And that was
they've definitely done. They've moved on a bit from that name.
That was pre the dolls, right? As well.
Yeah, I think so.
So I mean, I feel with that could potentially have been a marketing tie-in that would have been because I think
they were late 80s at that point.
Yeah, Tony Wright, kind of, I could see him as a Bratz doll. He's got the right hair
with the gold tooth.
With the gold, imagine. Yeah. Well, I feel like the gold tooth could be something like you get the Bratz doll, and then you get a little gold pen, and you could decide which gold tooth you want to colour in, and maybe do a few.
Why not?
Tony Wright famously a lovely little twinkly gold tooth. I think one of his main teeth as well, not like a back molar.
Oh yeah, one of the front two, I think.
Because you were very interested in getting a gold. Was it you or was it Frank who was desperate to get a gold tooth?
No, I wanted a gold tooth. Yeah, I have a false tooth. I have a denture. Supposed to be getting a proper one put in, but I did ask the dentist early on if I could have a gold tooth. I don't think I was necessarily referencing Tony Wright, but maybe subconsciously I was, because it does look awesome and he pulls it off so well.
How did you because I've there's stuff like that where you think, how do I broach this conversation? Because I'd like to be a man so just yes, I'm happy with myself to just go. What are my options vis-a-vis gold teeth? I don't think I could. Is that how you do it? Like, I don't know how I would say it.
I mean, I think if you're in a situation where you're getting a false one put in, the options are there for you. But the obvious one that was missing for me was there's no gold tooth. You can't have one if you want one. You've got to go.
Why not? What did they say?
I think it's a heavy, valuable, soft metal. So why would you? Why wouldn't you use a metal like titanium, which is I think what they use these days?
Would you have a titanium tooth?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have a titanium tooth because that's the only option. But if there was gold, maybe not with a ruby in it, like Mick Hucknall, but definitely a gold one.
I remember that. Yeah, the ruby.
Yeah,
that was horrible.
There were a couple of girls at my school who had a diamond in it.
Really?
Like one of just like not the front tooth, but like one of the ones, I don't know what teeth are all called, but like one of the ones to the side. They just had like a bit drilled out and a diamond put in. I don't know how that went down, but I didn't ask. I should have asked. It's always bothered me. But yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
No. At school.
Yeah. Secondary school. Yeah.
And these were drilled out to put a diamond.
Yeah. When I was at secondary school, there were very few diamonds in my life in general. I didn't come into contact with. I almost never came into contact with diamonds when I was at secondary school.
Well, they told me they were. I don't know if they were actually diamonds, but they might have been. I don't know.
Did you not open their mouth forcibly and get a strong flashlight, one of those little monocles that they wear when they're checking if something's real, and be like, no, that is cubic zirconium. You've been done. I'll have that out. I
think I would have been hit over the head.
Also, I just think, and it's the same for the gold tooth really, how much do you want to be carrying your wealth in your teeth? That seems like a bad plan to me, right? Because it's just an open invitation for someone to be like, well, I'll have that. Because you smile at them and you're basically going, here it is, bit of gold. It's like carrying your wallet like sort of attached to your body, right? You don't want it to be ripped out, surely.
I don't know, Sam. I don't
think so.
Are these concerns you don't think are valid?
I don't think so. I can see that you've got some gold in your mouth, so I'm going to reach in there and get it. Like, I don't think any burglar would want to do that.
It's a big world out there. You never know. Someone might want to do that. See, it's desperate people out there, Miriam. If they see a flash of gold in a gob, they might just get, literal gold fever. Like the 30s, not the 30s, the 18. You know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going to back away from this entirely. But yeah, Tony Wright and his lovely, lovely gold tooth.
Yeah.
To me, well, I mean, I'll say this about, I have basically a thesis on Terrorvision, which I might as well get out of the way at this point. Because you said Terrorvision are like the British Guns N' Roses.
Yes.
See, I disagree, though I see your point. I think they are the modern, as at the time, Def Leppard.
What?
I think I've literally written on my notes here, just in big, Def Leppard.
Def Leppard?
I think.
Qualify this immediately.
I will, with two things.
Joe's Cross.
It's outrageous.
So, they're both from Yorkshire. They're both Yorkshire people. I've written here in big, are Terravision just non-sleazy Def Leppard? That's now, hear me out, because I don't think that's a bad thing. Because yesterday I listened to the whole of Slang And I've never done that before, but I sat down and I did it. I listened to a whole Def Leppard album, which is from the 90s, so relevant. Slang, the record, which is generally held to be where Def Leppard went really wrong. I mean, if you're a Def Leppard fan, I would say the rot set in very much earlier than 1996. I think some bad choices were made by Def Leppard right from the get-go. But anyway, people say Slang is where it went wrong. Slang came out in May 1996, right? And obviously, in March 1996, Regular Urban Survivors came out. But hear this, in November 1996, Def Leppard played the Birmingham NEC, and guess who supported them?
Seriously?
Terrorvision. And it's not the first time. They've supported them a number of times.
I feel like I've been tripped up with your excellent research. I feel like I'm unequipped for this argument now. They're on the same bill.
And I must admit, right,
that's shocking news.
I felt about it. I thought maybe, in fact, I probably will do this, Joe, but, you know, it felt like a labour that you just throw back in my face. I thought maybe I could make a playlist on Spotify that was just Regular Urban Survivors and Slang just interlaced. Do you know what I mean? So it was just like track, and just eventually see if you were like, I don't feel the joins. It's like they're the same band.
I mean, I'd like to try it, but... And I'm not that familiar with Slang because I think every time I've heard Def Leppard, I've immediately backed away from it, just going, this is awful.
Yeah, Def Leppard.
It's not for me.
It does make you recoil in horror.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about Def Leppard, Miriam? You're a big fan, right? You've got one of those, you've got a big Def Leppard on your current denim shirt. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there not a huge Def Leppard back patch on that we can't see?
No, it's just plain. Although now I want something. I did try on a waistcoat once, which had like a skull with like flames and diamante on it, and I didn't buy it, and I regret it to this day.
There's still time. That's got to be out there.
It's gone. It's fully gone. The shop, I think it was from like Topshop, which doesn't exist anymore. I don't want to talk about it.
I don't know about anyone else's rule, but for me, I'm sure it's the same for you, Joe. If something's got a skull on it, that's a tick.
Yep.
If it's got flames on it, that's a tick.
Oh, yeah.
If it's got a skull and flames on it, I'm already buying it. I'm just picking it up and I'm making a purchase, whatever that is.
I did wonder why most of your stuff has flames and skulls on it. But now
because there's nothing that says confidence like a flaming skull. Is there? I mean, what else? Maybe a dragon with a tear in its eye, possibly, or maybe
if it's holding a crystal as well. That's always good.
It needs to be holding
crystals. Yeah,
or a wolf sort of howling at an oversized moon. That's
beautiful.
Also really good. I'm also quite partial to some dolphins leaping over a kind of sunny scene.
Are these the sort of things you get sometimes that are in like fleece form? You know, like the wolf howling at the moon, that kind of thing.
Ideally fleece form, yeah.
And now I'm thinking about Elon Musk riding a rocket, naked, wearing a cowboy hat on a fleece.
That's good.
We're going to start a fashion line.
Yeah.
ASAP.
This is
contact the fleecers.
Fuck the podcast.
We need a custom job.
Thank you, Joe. This is a revenue stream. It's not what I was expecting you to bring to the table, but I should have done because I know you're an excellent marketeer. So yeah, we definitely need to go. Who are the fleece people? Berghaus? Do we talk to them? Patagonia? We need contacts. Yeah,
they need more pattern stuff. I think a lot of their stuff's quite plain. I think this is the way they need to go.
I had to explain to a man in his 20s the other day what a fleece was. He didn't know what fleece was, and I said, a fleece. A fleece? And he went, what do you mean like a sheepskin jacket? I went, no, a fleece. A fleece. Had no idea what he was talking about. And I found myself going, but you weren't around for the 90s, the fleece explosion, when everyone was fleecing all over the place. And I suddenly realised that's true, isn't it? Back end of the 90s, it was just fleeces everywhere. I had a school fleece. Everyone was wearing it. Fleeces brought us together. The shell suit was too dangerous, but the fleece brought us together.
I didn't know fleece was a 90s thing. I just thought it was a, ubiquitous, warm, comfy jacket. Now I feel old. Thanks, Sam.
This podcast lives to make people feel old. That's kind of what it's all about. Because it's more like a sort of therapeutic way that I can do all of this sort of thing and then not inflict it on people who don't forgive me, like you. You guys will. So, yeah.
It either makes people feel old or too young, I think, which is quite hilarious as well.
Yes.
They don't know what we're talking about. I did for the murder mystery thing. I made a birth certificate for someone as a prop, and I discovered there's something wrong with my brain because I wrote that they were born, because I knew they were a bit younger, that they must have been born in 1990, because in my head, like, the only people younger than me that are adults could not have been born any more recently than 1990. Like, well, I can't work it out, so 1990. So I was like, I've accidentally made you 32. I think the woman's like 24 or something.
I'm exactly the same. If someone comes up to me and expects to hold a conversation with me, and I later find out they were born post-millennium, I just go, no, I can't do this. I'm sorry. Go and get an adult. Go and get a responsible adult. I can't deal with you.
Weird.
You don't remember A Maximum High by Shed 7. I can't deal with you. You don't remember Regular Urban Survivors by Terrorvision. I don't want to talk to you. So, and they certainly won't remember Menswear. Of course they won't. I mean, few of us do. But yeah, I'm the same.
I don't really remember Menswear.
We'll come on to Menswear, but I do. What I would like to do is just to have a look through the actual track listings on Regular Urban Survivors.
Let's do that.
In fact, before I want to say one thing which I forgot to put in the Who. Do you know who produced this album?
No, I don't actually.
The producer of this album was a chap called Gil Norton, which I'd never heard of, an American man.
Seriously?
Are you familiar with his name?
Yes. I didn't know Gil Norton produced
Gil Norton has done quite a lot of quite good records.
Gil Norton produced lots of Pixies records, couple.
He did
famous ones.
Doolittle,
yeah,
Bossa Nova, Trompe le Monde.
Yeah.
He also did, which I think is his absolute masterstroke, he did Busted in 2019, Halfway There.
Wow.
And the first question that you're going to ask yourself is, wait, Busted was still a going concern in 2019? And the answer is yes. So much of a going concern that they could get Gil Norton to produce their record.
Weren't they doing a McBusted thing?
I think they'd sort of, McBusted had happened.
Right.
They'd backed away from McBusted and they thought it's time that Busted just reasserted themselves.
We'll have to cover this on the 2010s podcast.
Yeah. But that needs to settle for a while. So that's sort of in our early 80s. We'll probably be hitting that. And presumably all of this technology in front of us will just be in our brains. We'll just basically just need to be near a power source, presumably nuclear, which will just get our special brain transmitters to enable a podcast to happen.
But Gil Norton, the biggest album that I know that he produced was The Colour and the Shape by the Foo Fighters.
This is true.
He produced Everlong.
So yeah, he did. I think, and that's what I'm saying, Joe. I thought when I saw that, I thought, well, this makes perfect sense because the person that produced this record, the sonic imprint of this record, if you look down his list of stuff that he's done, it's just littered with records that you love.
Yeah.
It's just everything I saw in there. You love all the Pixies records, you love that Foo Fighters record, and you loved Halfway There by Busted in 2019.
I did.
You could not stop. In fact, to declare an interest, I play in a band with Joe, and a lot of times he'll bring like an idea to the table, and I'll listen to it, and I'll go, "Well, that's just from Halfway There by Busted. You're trying to get a cover in under the radar." But I know it well enough to see what he's up to. So yeah, I'm sick of it. In fact, Joe.
Yeah, I keep trying to sneak in those Matt Willis bass lines, trying to sneak them in under the radar and get you to play them.
Do you know what? I'll say this right now. Against Matt Willis as a bass player, I won't hear a bad word. He's solid. He's a professional. He plays bass solidly, good backing vocals. You know, bass player to bass player. I got nothing against Matt Willis, and nothing against Busted in general. I'll say, but I haven't. You know.
Yeah, I've got to say, probably preferred Busted to Fight Star. Maybe a controversial thing to say, but I'm putting it out there.
Oh man,
sorry, Charlie, whatever your name is.
Yeah, what is his name? Charlie Busted.
Yeah.
But let us, if we may, because Miriam, you'd never heard this record before.
I hadn't, and I had to very carefully listen to it in order because I think I can't work it out. But on like Spotify, you have to. It kind of bobs around, and I thought it was important to listen to it in order of the actual track listing.
I'm 100% with you.
And I did make 3-word reviews of each track, so as we go through, if you'd like them, I can read them out.
I have also made similar reviews of each song. So if you'd like to do a track by track, I think that, although I will say it's chock full. It's 13 songs, am I not right?
Oh yeah.
It's a good length. They've given you plenty. So I mean, let's start at the beginning. The beginning, you put it on, you put the record on, and what's the first thing you hear when you put on Regular Urban Survivors?
It's that weird intro.
It's a sort of wild howl of pick scratch and feedback. Sounds like a motorbike revving up. It's very exciting. Yeah. And it goes on for quite a long time. And then when it drops, it's not quite as smooth as you'd want it to be.
No, it's not. It's not. There's some syncing issues there.
Yeah.
that Gil Norton of Foo Fighters fame did not work out, but maybe they ran out of time.
So what how did you feel about the first track? Is called Enter Alter Ego.
The whole album's sort of like James Bond themed. Did you pick that up?
I did.
I have that as one of my review mentions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all very like international spy. Like the album artwork is all kind of James Bondy, and that for me was like they were desperately trying for that. And there's a couple of tracks that reference that and actually sound a bit like Bond themes, but quite cheap, bad ones. And I think they started as they meant to go on.
So what was your review of Enter Alter Ego?
Yeah, that says tinny, smashy, busy. But I did like it, but I did write tinny, smashy, busy.
Smashy is an excellent description for that track.
I've got just 2 words for this, which I've just written, quite lumpy. Ooh. It's quite a lumpy opener, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sort of feels like, ooh, here we go, it's Terrorvision. That's sort of the vibe I got. It was a bit like someone starting up a very powerful motorbike and then sort of going over quite a lot of speed bumps straight afterwards.
There's a lot going on, I think. Yeah.
I think that's indicative of the Terrorvision sound across most of their albums.
Shitloads.
They're throwing a lot at the wall, and it's all kind of at one level. There's not a lot of dynamic subtlety. It's all just bah. You know, whether they're doing it with electric guitars or there might have a bit of brass in there, it's all just as loud as possible and mixed in a weird sort of tinny 90s way. So I think you're right there.
See, I would say, this is, you know, I'm not going to criticise. I will declare an interest right now. I did actually really enjoy this record, but I'm not going to criticise. But I felt like this track was. I would not have chosen this as the opener.
No,
I wouldn't. I'll tell you what, I would have chosen as the opener. I'd have chosen Super Chronic as the opener.
Yeah, 100%
that would have been my opener, because when that track comes in after Enter Alter Ego, I'm like, wee, the album started now, hurrah. So I think Super Chronic should have been the opener, because that is a delight. That's my entire review of it should have been the opener.
I put Clattery Bond song, because I thought it sounded like a Bond song. Not like the beginning one, but like one quite, you know, in the middle of the film that was quite important.
So like what, a bit where he's just got a gadget and you basically getting to see him use it for the first time.
Oh yeah, like the car, the gadget car, maybe like a big fun moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like there's just been like one of those really awkward sex scenes that are in old Bond films. You're like, oh, this is horrible. Especially if it's Roger Moore and you're like, oh, he's quite old now. He's wearing a girdle. And then after that, they need to sort of pep you back into it. I feel like that's when Super Chronic would have come in. And you'd be like, hey, he's bonding again. Yeah,
I definitely felt the Bond on that one. That's where the sort of theme gets going. Not I want to skip ahead, but for me, like Bad Actress, that's where you get to that's the big Bond theme. That's the main crescendo, but this is certainly introducing the theme at this point.
Well, I mean, feel free to skip around. I mean, I want to say that the next track is Perseverance. And for me, I will say it right now, this is where they got me. This is where I was like, all right, Terrorvision, I've misjudged you. I've misunderstood. This is the good shit. And I'll tell you for why. Because it has this lyric in it, which is, I'm going to say this now, in my opinion, the second best lyric, but I will come on to this later because, again, I have a thesis here. The second best lyric, in my opinion, in this record is, I was right about the whales and the dolphins, whales and dolphins, whales and dolphins, yeah. If there's ever been a statement that more exemplified that time, he was right about the whales and I don't even understand. He doesn't tell us what he was right about. He doesn't. At the end of it, he's just so confident. It's just like, yep, It's like he knows that you knew he was right all along, and he's just having a little victory lap.
I mean, the one thing about this song is there are a lot of lyrics, aren't there? And I've never really, as I mentioned before we started this, I've never really deep dived and read the lyrics. So I kind of didn't want to spoil the illusion. And with this one, there's so many and they're so fast, you can kind of make up what he's going on about. I didn't want to ruin the illusion. But interestingly, that lyric in particular, when they released their sort of greatest hits best of before they reformed, they called it Whales and Dolphins.
Did they?
Yeah.
That is nice. That is nice Terror trivia.
There is also a picture of Tony on his solo website, of him on stage wearing some very 90s like neon orange sunglasses.
Lovely.
Holding an inflatable whale, an inflatable dolphin, and just screaming. And I assume he's singing Perseverance. But there's a lot of whales and dolphins theme in Terrorvision lore. So I'm glad you picked up on that particular lyric.
Oh, it's my favourite. It's my favourite. I feel like I felt like there's a story there that I'm not aware of, and I feel like I'll probably never know. I'd love to ask Tony Wright point blank. If I ever meet Tony Wright, I'll ask him point blank. Where does Rick Witter live? Because I know you're friends. And then, what's the deal with the whales and the dolphins? I reckon he'll just give me a wry smile, flash his gold tooth, and he'll be gone.
He shouldn't tell you either of those pieces of information. You don't deserve to know. None of us do. And why try and pull at that thread? The mystery's there for a reason, I think.
The 90s. The 90s. The 90s.
Have you been on any forums?
I've been on a couple of Terrorvision forums, but I felt a little bit like I was looking at a teenage diary of men who I didn't know, and I shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Would you not consider yourself a Terrorvision fan? Are you not one of their number?
I certainly am, but I'm not a forum contributor. I think that's where the line is, crossing that line from appreciator into kind of Terrorvision nerd, and I don't want to be a Terrorvision nerd.
I think that line is usually tattoo.
Oh, really?
I think.
Oh, interesting.
I think once you've got I suppose once you've got the tattoo, no one can say anything at that point.
No.
You've proven yourself.
Yeah, but then you're not going to have people criticize. You won't be able to get into any sort of objective arguments. We probably couldn't have this discussion if I had a Terrorvision tattoo. Because you'd be like, anything you say, you're going to be met with hostility because I've got it etched on my skin forever.
I've not seen every inch of your naked form, Joe. How do I know you haven't got a Terrorvision tattoo? I've only your word.
True, and I kind of wish I did now. I'm thinking about like, what would I get if I got a Terrorvision tattoo? I mean, I could get Tony Wright's smiling face with his gold tooth, get a bit of gold in there.
I think so. Is there any way you could do it? Like, I'm trying to think where you could like have Tony Wright's face, then some kind of surface piercing where there'd be an actual like little blob of gold.
Oh wow!
Well, then I could introduce all kinds of gems in there. I could give him a ruby tooth.
Oh,
but
I like the sound of this. I like the sound of crowdfunding this.
I think a lot of Terrorvision artwork would make good tattoos. I think, to be honest, the regular Urban Survivors artwork would make quite a good scene, like a back piece, with the flames and cars and people holding guns. It'd be great.
That would look
I
good.
think that would. Or maybe
You're up for it, Mim.
Yeah, yeah. I've only ever heard the band once, but already I'm getting a full back tattoo.
Why not?
I just hope, right? I'm seeing it now in the middle distance. I hope that this podcast doesn't end up with like a kind of, a 3-way pact whereby we all end up getting drunk and you come out, like I come out with a Spin Doctors tattoo, Miriam's got a Terrorvision tattoo and Joe's got a fucking Shed 7
You
tattoo.
absolutely do. That is exactly what you want to happen.
I've definitely drawn the short straw there, haven't I? What would I get? What would a Shed 7 tattoo
What are you
like?
talking about? What would you get? You get
everything I've seen of Shed 7, like merch or artwork, is just big letters that say Shed 7.
Yeah, classic.
Do I get to choose what you have?
No, absolutely not. What I'm saying is there doesn't seem to be much of a choice anyway, so I should have it.
I'd choose the beautiful face of Mark Gladwin, bass player for Shed 7, playing his P bass with winking. That's what I'd have.
Fair enough.
That's what I'd go for. And Miriam, what would you have me have as a Spin Doctors tattoo?
There's quite a few things, but they have a kind of little sort of spiral like logo that's quite fun. But yeah,
if you want it authentic, I think I might like to have Chris Barron browsing through a thrift shop for fun shirts.
Yeah,
Because that sort of says a little bit about
the-
me too.
You could have Mark White's guitar strap with all the
Mm.
toys on it just across your chest. at
Oh,
all
that's
times.
nice.
That'd be quite
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Right, we need to get back
I'm
to
sorry.
this track
Yeah.
listing because
Okay.
I spent a good 5 to 10 minutes putting these reviews together.
So what did you think about the track Perseverance? What was your 3-word review there?
I put Protesters' Scar Anthem because I just assumed it was about protesting about, the whales and the dolphin. I wasn't really sure what was happening.
It is quite yeah, there is a bit of a there's
Little smidge
there's like a
of
kind of
Scar.
not they don't fully commit to the ska.
No.
But they
No.
hover around it. It's like, they've got a Mighty Boss Tones album, but they've only listened to half. That's how I feel. Like they didn't. It's all right, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, I was just bowled over by the lyric of Perseverance. That was for me. But moving on to the song Easy, which is God, we're only on track 4. I've just written beer of strings, beer of fairground organ, lovely stuff. That's all I've written.
Yeah, it's sort of as a counterpoint to Perseverance because it's quite grungy, I thought. But again, with the production, it doesn't really get the sort of like the heaviness there. So it is still quite whimsical.
Yeah, I put because the lyric is Hasselbound quite a lot, which is
Not
quite an
me.
unusual thing to
It's
say.
a great word.
But it just reminded me of the like Hasselback potatoes, and I just thought actually that, and so my review is calming Hasselback theme, and I thought if I was in the kitchen making Hasselback potatoes, which are quite difficult to do, that would be quite nice to listen to whilst I did it.
In fact, you know what? Because Siobhan loves a Hasselback potato and I haven't made them for a while. In my house, it's now going to be, I'm going to instigate that if we ever make them, we're all going to sing Hasselback, yes, please, just over and over again as we do it. Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I thought of when I first heard that lyric, the footballer Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. I'll tell you why.
Interesting.
90s footballer, so there's a little bit of connecting tissue there, and play for Leeds. So them,
Ooh.
them being
Bang.
Bradford boys,
It all
Hasselbank,
fits.
not me. Yeah, you know what I mean?
It's
all there.
Fits.
all makes perfect sense. And now we come on to the moment we've all been waiting for, which is to me that you're 5 tracks in. It's to me the absolute album linchpin. What's the next track, Joe? What's the great next track?
Is it? Is this Hide the Dead Girl?
It's Hide the Dead Girl.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I did read the lyrics to this because you had, and I felt bad that I hadn't done it. But I've always been a little bit troubled by this one. And then I read the lyrics, and I'm slightly more troubled now. So
I've just written Hide the Dead Girl. Yes, that's exactly what it's about.
Yeah.
I thought when I saw it, it was going to be, metaphorical. It's not.
no.
Terrorvision very rarely trade in metaphor. They don't.
Yeah.
They like a simile, sure they do. But if it's the song's called Hide the Dead Girl, it is about hiding a dead girl. And I think that's something to be admired about Terrorvision. How did you feel about it, Miriam?
I put Wayne's World murder because I thought if there was another Wayne's World film and there was a murder on it, this is the music they might use.
I mean, I think, yeah, where do you go with Wayne's World other than murder now? I mean, the first one was sort of a love story, I guess. The second one, I don't really remember. And then, so I guess the third one, you introduce a bit of murder. Murder's very popular, isn't it? Sort of take it down the true crime area.
Yeah. And then they've got the track all ready to go. Lovely.
But I thought that was there to add, that was the crime element in the James Bond sort of concept album that they were going for. But like you say, very literal, something about bobbing for apples.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I was like. So the first lyric, you're basically saying, we'll tell everyone that we were bobbing for apples and we accidentally held her head under for a bit too long and then she died. That's what we'll tell people. And I'm like, right. But what really happened, I presume, is that you just drowned a girl. Is that what you're saying? I just don't like the fact that he's never really referred to who this girl is or like why they've drowned her. They never explain that. Maybe Tony, and I don't mean to criticize Tony, if he'd maybe given us a little bit more background as to why they drowned this girl, I could have bought into their escape a bit more.
Yeah, and are they like the spy in this, and this girl was the villain in the James Bond film? But no, it's more about them just trying to get away with it. Which is quite strange.
Well, they don't give that many women backstories in Bond anyway, so why start now if that's the theme?
Yeah, that's true. They don't really. No, they don't really care,
Historically,
do they?
a bit more now. They've tried a bit harder.
I always forget that Grace Jones is in a Bond film. I always find that, I'm like, oh yeah, she is, isn't she? And isn't Bridget Nielsen in a Bond film as well? I just think that's a quite big female actress. I suppose neither of those are really actresses. One of them's a singer and the other one's I don't know really what Bridget Nielsen is. But they don't really lean a lot on the female roles in Bond at all, which is a shame. And obviously if they were to ever cast a female Bond, people who read the Daily Mail will literally explode in their homes. So that we can't do that. We can't risk it. But yeah. I quite enjoyed Hide the Dead Girl, but I will say, and you're not going to like this, Joe, this was the point at which when I was listening to it, I went, oh no, man, this actually probably kind of could be a Def Leppard song.
You're right. I can't really argue with that. It is very, yeah.
It's got all the Leopard hallmarks.
It does. It does. I mean, there's no guitar solo, to be fair.
No, in fact, it's funny you should say that. I'd written literally here, this actually kind of could be a Def Leppard song, and I just written add a bit of shred.
Yeah, you need.
Meaning that's what it would need.
Solo. But they're not. I mean, this is why. I think that's why I got into them in the first place, because they were very accessible, and even though they were kind of like straddling the Britpop grunge movement at the time, they didn't try that hard. I don't think musically. So you were like, I could probably learn this song. I could probably play it, and if some lads from Bradford, my mum's from Bradford, can do this, then I could be in a band. Why not? So I think the lack of solos and the lack of kind of musical intricacy definitely made it a bit more accessible for a young man from the home counties.
I will say, Mark Yates on guitar, he puts the yards in. I was kind of blown away. I thought there was like 3 guitarists in Terrorvision. That was because I'd only really heard their music. I never really sort of looked at them as a band. I was like, this is one dude. Like, he's doing a lot.
It's just hard graft, just grafting away on that Les Paul. And, and again, I think the reason for no solos, didn't want any dropout, had to keep that sort of consistent wall of noise going at all times. Only to be supplemented by, like you say, an occasional fairground organ or brass part. Why not? He's got to dig deep, just keep going.
Well, in fact, as another perfect segue, one of the other things they did was on the next song, which is the song Conspiracy, which in my view is the beginning of the 2-song political section of this particular album, and very deep they do delve. The song Conspiracy, I've just written 2-word review, Yorkshire Rave. It's you're on the moors. Tony's dragged a sound system up there in his clapped out Transit. He's managed to get it going off a car battery, which I'm sad to say he may well have stolen. And then it gets cracking on, and it's like a good Yorkshire rave. And Tony's telling you a lot of his worries about the world, which are, as I say, sort of quite nebulous. He doesn't like bad politicians or racism, which I think we can all get behind. None of us like that kind of thing, do we? So I think that's fair.
I wrote goth cowboy disco, so make of that what you will.
Well, all I'm going to make of that is, why isn't that a thing? And why can't I go to that? Why isn't a goth cowboy disco a thing? I almost sort of just want to go away from this podcast now and Google that, because there's got to be something out there that resembles a goth cowboy disco, right?
I think you could probably get like 2 out of 3 in most cases.
Yeah.
You could probably find a goth cowboy. You could probably get a cowboy disco and certainly a goth disco.
I mean, what is Nick Cave but a goth cowboy?
Yeah, it's true.
It's very true. And then all we need to do is give him, take him to the
disco.
Take him to the disco. At which point he'll go, I don't like this at all. I want to leave now. But Australian. I'm not going to do it. I could.
But yeah, Conspiracy is a good one. Again, discussing heavy things, but keeping everything very major key and very upbeat, which Terrorvision were really good at until, and this is slightly off topic because it's off a different album, but I've got to mention it, Tequila.
Yeah, Tequila was an odd one.
Because Tequila was really like minor key and quite a sad, slightly melancholic song, and then Mint Royale ruined it. And they became really famous. They had a last swan song, didn't they? They got sort of really famous and had I think it got to number 2, not number 1. Got to number 2, and then they sort of got dropped by the record label and disbanded.
It's almost the same story, I think, as what happened with Corner Shop.
Yeah,
because it was like they'd done Brimful of Asher, and then no one really gave a shit. And then it got remixed by Fatboy Slim and everyone loved it. And then they went around playing it live, but they kept playing the album version and they were like, but where's all the drums and stuff? It's not as good. And then they were like, well, this is not the band that we are. And they were like, oh no, we don't like this.
Yeah.
And so they just went, thank you very much. Well, no, it's not a sad story because they just quietly returned to their corner of obscurity that they were quite happy in their whole lives. So just ask your husband. He's been, I think for a good, 5 or 6 years, was the primary drink server to the band Corner Shop. They really liked boozing in a pub in Earlsfield that he worked.
I will ask him.
Yeah. He knows every member of Corner Shop, if I'm not mistaken. And he's got a great love for their music and just thinks they're just generally quite nice chaps. So that's quite sweet, isn't it?
I shall fact check that this evening.
Please feel free. But prepare yourself, as I'm sure you will be, for quite a lot of Corner Shop anecdotes because Richard's got plenty of them. He'll be able to furnish you with them. But yeah, so after Conspiracy, you get Didn't Bleed Red, a bit more political business. I've just lumped that in with the Yorkshire Rave. I haven't really sort of delved into that. I must admit, by this point, my notes kind of got a bit wild and woolly because I knew something was coming. I'm not saying we skip over it, but we all know there's 2 tracks that are coming up towards the end of it, which are to me the real linchpins. And what would you say to me? Like, it's all about from here on in. It's about Bad Actress, and then it's about Celebrity Hit List. The 2 absolute stonkers. But I mean, do you have anything to say about the songs Dog Chewed the Handle?
I did. Well, for Didn't Bleed Red, I put X-Files script banger. And for Dog Chewed the Handle, I put Ghost Story Hop.
Nice. I've just put, Googled the phrase Dog Chewed the Handle and it returned the results song by Terrorvision.
Yeah, I did the same. I did exactly the same thing because I wondered if it was like a thing, and it didn't work.
Tony Wright made it sound like that's like a thing that people say in Bradford, and it's not at all. He's just made it up.
Yeah, I mean, Didn't Bleed Red. I thought that's probably the only time where they've dabbled with metaphor because it's about aliens, but I thought then it was about racism. But yeah, Didn't Bleed Red, Better Off Dead. Could be about communism. I don't know. Again, don't really want to know. Didn't want to delve too deep. But yeah, Dog Chew the Handle. Again, lots of lyrics. Is it Heads You Win, Tails the Dog Chew the Handle was the kind of main hook? No idea what that meant.
No, I don't think we'll ever really know.
No.
I like it though.
Because
I remember like kids at my secondary school like reading old Victorian like unsolved crimes, and I just thought maybe he'd just sang one of those. Like, I don't know.
Sorry, can I just back up in that sentence a little bit? You said you remembered kids at your primary school reading old Victorian unsolved.
Actually, it was secondary school. Yeah.
Oh well, that explains it all. Sorry, they were reading unsolved.
Not the one with the diamond in her tooth. Another lady. Yeah.
So what, they were just like gathered round in a circle at lunchtime reading old dusty copies of the London Graphic for
no, I think it was
crime.
Just one girl just had some like old like unsolved Victorian murder book or something. She was like, look at this.
Was this girl called Miriam? Is that
no?
Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I would, if it was me, I would 100% admit it and completely own it.
That's true.
Me.
You would. That's true. You'd be delighted to explain it to me. That's unfair.
Yeah. I'm annoyed it wasn't me.
Don't worry. You had plenty going on. It's fine.
Yeah,
don't worry about it.
And then Junior, the next song's Junior, which I just put stylish double track because it felt like 2 songs sort of smashed together.
A cut and shut. Yeah. A 90s cut and shut.
Yeah.
Classic. I've just written greasy riff rock. And that's not a pejorative to me. That's great news. If someone says it's greasy riff rock, I'll be like, stick it on. So yeah, lovely. I think that's fine.
It's one of those ones that sort of it set Terrorvision apart a little bit because they do lean into the heaviness now and again. Like Didn't Bleed Red is probably one of the heaviest songs on the album. It's like this definitely isn't Britpop, but doesn't really serve to do a whole lot else. But I think it sets up the bangers at the end perfectly.
Yeah, I agree. It's like there's a couple of tracks on this, and I think that's one of them where you just go, "Oh, I bet Terrorvision are good live," and you just sort of know that they are. You know that like it's the sort of the swagger and the live feeling of the recording. You go, this has been played in a lot of sweaty pubs a lot of times. In fact, one of the things he said in one of the interviews I read with him was he said one of the things he remembers most about the 90s was when this album came out, they played like a really small pub in Yorkshire. Then they finished their set, and then they immediately the next day played the Birmingham NEC with Def Leppard. He said, like, that was what it was like. Like, people were just being like, right, yeah, that they're massive now. And then there were bands who'd been literally in complete obscurity suddenly being on top of the pops, like having played like to 20 people the night before. That's what was kind of going on. But yeah, it sounds brilliant. I think they were like proper slogging around the toilet circuit.
Yeah, I never saw them live. And even now, I mean, their live stuff, I'm not sure they've toured any more recently than about 2014, 2015, but they're still really good live. They always were. They were a proper rock band. But yeah, probably why they got the gig with Def Leppard, which I didn't know about before this.
I feel like
my
mind is still
definitely
totally
really
blown
upset
out.
you. Listen, I think this is an opportunity, not for you to feel that Terrorvision has been tarnished by Def Leppard. I feel it's an opportunity for you to reevaluate Def Leppard.
No,
you won't reevaluate Def Leppard.
No, I don't feel there's any need for me to do that. I think they've got enough fans, whereas my time could be better spent promoting the virtues of Terrorvision, being a Terrorvision evangelist and getting more people.
It's true
to appreciate the good work they did over many years.
I think that's very noble of you.
It's very noble.
I like it.
If you ascribe to my thesis that you've got Def Leppard and then the de-sleazed version of Def Leppard is Terrorvision, what comes next? Who are the natural inheritors of the mantle of Terrorvision?
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe the Darkness, something like that.
Oh, that's a good shout. that's a really good shout.
It's like it's peddling quite a few rock and roll tropes. Doesn't take itself too seriously.
Good wordplay,
but is not. It's. I suppose Darkness were very popular, but it's keeping that rock and roll flame going. Passing it on. And the Darkness were, I suppose, is it controversial to say they were a joke band? They kind of were a joke band, but they were, happy to really lean into the rock and roll moves and, unapologetically. So I think Terrorvision were definitely cut of that same cloth.
Yeah.
Maybe earlier on they took themselves a bit more seriously, but by this point they were like unashamedly kind of brash rock and roll, which wasn't happening that much at that point in the music scene in the UK, certainly.
Well, do you know what? When we come to the second part of this podcast, I'm very much going to expound upon that very point. But yeah, I guess to round up the Terrorvision portion of this, we should complete here. So then we come on after we've gone through Junior. We get to Bad Actress, which I've simply said I've put Bond Stringy Strings, which I think is fair. And also I've put, which you may find controversial, this is Shed 7 tier histrionics. This is a level of keening emotional heft that I think only someone like Rick Witter could handle. Yes, Tony Wright does it beautifully. I think the only person who could come close would be Witter.
That is controversial. I mean, definitely I think this is where they spent the majority of their production budget.
Yeah.
I think those two songs definitely have blown the majority of what they had. Everything else is a little bit straightforward and scratchy, and here you've got the strings, you've got the sort of the headroom. It's all very sort of cinematic, but it's great. Absolute classic.
It is. Then we've got. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Gloomy opposites game, because they keep all the words. They kind of do a little opposites thing. And then for If I Was You, I put Bowie but faster. And celebrity hit lists, I've got Cracking for Floor Filler and Mugwump. I put all the instruments, just all of them. So that's the rest. I just thought I'd do them all now, and then you can tell me which is your favourite.
Fair. Well, Celebrity Hit List was the big single, which I am frankly in disbelief that you've never heard before, because that song was everywhere.
Well, I've given it Cracking Floor Filler, so I've given it,
it's not enough
thumbs up. But I didn't recognise it. But sorry.
At that time, I imagine. Well, I mean, when that came out, you were probably just listening to the Spin Doctors back to back. I imagine you didn't have any room for anything else, and I understand that. I mean, it's the same. This passed me by because it's the same year that obviously Maximum High came out, so I was just deep into that, and that's all I really cared about. But yeah, celebrity hit list, to me, it's weird. Like when that track comes on, you're never quite sure when you listen to a record whether they've produced the track better than the rest of the tracks, or it's just that you've heard it loads of times. Because as soon as it comes on, it was almost like it became like double wide stereo, and it was like, wow, this song sounds really good. And I thought maybe that's just because I've heard it a lot of times. Or do you think they went, this is the single, let's really polish it up, and they didn't bother with some of the rest of them because they're like,
100% they did that. I mean, I think like the celebrity hit list, Perseverance, I think, got quite a lot of extra polish because they're kind of twins. They sound very similar. They're sonically quite similar, and they're quite poppy. And they were at EMI at the time, so they must have gone, right, we've got to cash in here. And these two are the ones that are going to get the production budget. But yeah, it's an absolute stone cold classic.
I particularly love the thing that exemplifies Terrorvision forever for me is the way that Tony Wright says the word car and the way that Tony Wright says the word wife. Wife, car. Yeah. It's so good. It's just unmistakably good. I just look fancy car. It's such great delivery. It's so Yorkshire. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and you'd never get away with those lyrics. Never, ever, ever. But yeah, it was great at the time, and I have a particular sort of childhood memory of that song, if I may share it with you.
Okay, please do.
So we had this thing at school where you had to sort of do like a Top of the Pops thing. It was like it wasn't a talent show because no one was expected to actually learn to play an instrument. So you kind of had to mime songs, and there was people doing like Spice Girls.
Mime. We had the pop mime at our school.
I'm glad it wasn't just us, a weird little school in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, obviously there was like people doing Spice Girls and all sorts. And me and my friend who liked Terrorvision, we did like a 2-piece White Stripes-esque mime of Celebrity Hit List.
Amazing.
On stage in front of the whole school, and I was playing a guitar that I'd made out of like a long cardboard tube of like the Blue Roll. I'd squashed one of those flat, drawn some strings on it, and put like a little cardboard guitar body and a little headstock, and wore sunglasses like Tony.
Oh, this is a beautiful.
Oh, that's too cute.
And mimed it. Yeah,
I think I even had
I don't think we have. I think I even had like a little small toilet roll tube as the microphone as well. Made a little mic stand.
Oh.
Yeah.
How old were you at this point?
First school. I don't know. I want to say like 5, but I probably wasn't. I couldn't have been, could I? When did this come out?
This came out in 1996.
So I must have been 11. That's weird.
I do this all the time where I just go, right, okay, well, I can't have been 11 because that sounds weird. I must have been like 6. Then you look and you go, you were 17.
11. That's kind of weird. For an 11-year-old miming in front of your whole school with a cardboard guitar.
Well, how soon after that did you acquire an actual guitar?
But in about 2 years. Yeah, I think I was 13 when I started playing guitar.
Would you say that the band Terrorvision had an influence on you becoming a musicianary person?
Yeah, I think so. The reason for this is kind of where they were placed at the time. And I had a look at classic albums from 1995. There wasn't really a classic albums list from 1996 for some reason, probably because there wasn't a lot of good albums came out. But the stuff, you're looking at things like, it was all Britpop or dance music, apart from Garbage. The Bends came out in 95, and things like Smashing Pumpkins, which I was into all of that, but it was the only kind of rock album that was happening in the UK, and they were the only kind of rock band again that you could sort of access that were around the UK. So, and again, because they're from Bradford and so was my mum, I was like, I could do this. So I think it definitely had a slight influence for sure.
So it used like Terrorvision was like your Sex Pistols Play the 100 Club.
Yeah, definitely.
I can be Tony Wright. I can be, quickly check's name, Mark Yates.
Yeah, I think because the other bands I was listening to at the time was sort of like Green Day and Foo Fighters or all the grunge stuff from America, but there was nothing in the UK that was like that. And that list, you had a bit of Radiohead and a bit of garbage, and that's cool, but not really the sort of thing you're going to be playing with your first band. Whereas Terrorvision, you're like, could probably get somewhere near that.
Yeah, I think that's, do you know what? Now I think about it, I think the thing about Terrorvision really is it's almost perfect, like teenage boy music.
Yeah.
It really is, because it's like, not that it couldn't be teenage girl music, I'm not saying that, but I just mean like
Good save.
It's sort of like, I just think because it's like, it's not the fact that it's rock, because obviously girls can like rock, that's completely fine, but it's just the fact that it's just got this thing of like going like, it's guns and running around and we're spies and we're doing a crime. It's like, it's just sort of, it's very kind of Bondy, boys own adventure-y. I mean, I think that sort of hit a major nerve with people at that point, because I think the mid-90s was a very sort of superficially, but also kind of like, everyone was into kind of crime and that kind of stuff. There was, Tarantino films were suddenly becoming like a big thing. And I think this all sort of tied into that kind of world. But what I like about Terrorvision a lot more than a lot of other bands around that time was there's a sort of laddish quality to Tony Wright, for sure. And the whole band has a kind of a lad vibe about them, but it's not shit. It doesn't feel sneering or misogynistic or kind of, just generally kind of unfriendly like, any Oasis record does. It feels like they're kind of like going, oh, it's all cool for you to even like us. That's their kind of vibe. Whereas I feel with Terrorvision, they were like this big kind of friendly, we're a big hairy bollocked Yorkshire rock band, come and have a fun time with us. You know what I mean? I think that was sort of what I like. I think that's what makes them kind of go, it does stand up a lot better than a lot of other stuff I've listened to, because it's just quite sort of sweet. Even though it's like, Hide the Dead Girl and all this kind of stuff, it's got a twinkle in its eye that Tony Wright doesn't take himself terribly seriously, which is great. And also, it's just like, we are just a solid band that if you come and see us, you'll have a good time. We're not trying to sort of bend your mind with our incredible artistic sort of explorations. It's just, we'll give you some solid 4-down riffs that you can jump up and down to, and you'll have a great night. I think that's great. What more do you want in a rock band than that?
Yeah, it's just good times start to finish, which again makes Tequila even more weird. Why they made it like this sad sort of Spanish song that then became a really positive kind of party tune about drinking, and then, made them famous in the last part of their career. But there you go. Terrorvision's all about good times.
The 90s.
We've had like an awesome conversation about it, but Sam's dressed up, so have we got 5 minutes to talk about the thing that you brought?
I need to talk about menswear. It's important.
In 5 minutes.
I've got 5 minutes to talk about menswear.
Yeah.
This is unacceptable. I had so much menswear to talk. Right, I will.
Well, you could talk really quickly.
Right, I will. I decided to make you watch a programme about menswear, the band Menswear, because it was on a show. Have you ever seen MTV's Most Wanted before?
No.
Which is what I made you watch. MTV's Most Wanted was a show on MTV Europe. MTV Europe was a very weird thing that happened in the late 90s when they tried to move American MTV to Europe, and they went, Europe, that's all one thing, isn't it? We only need to make one channel for that. Then someone went, oh shit, they all speak different languages. This is going to be a problem. But they went, bugger it, we'll just persevere with it. We'll just carry on. So they did that for a couple of years before they split it all off into MTV Europe. But there was a beautiful time when MTV Europe was basically broadcasting to everyone in Europe, mostly in English, but sometimes not. So you would turn on MTV Europe and it'd be like, oh, this bit's in French. I don't know what's happening. So you just have to wait until the English bit came on. And this program had Ray Cokes in it. Ray Cokes was kind of hired for this because he is like he's a British bloke who became a Belgian DJ, and he can speak French and he can speak Flemish and he can speak Swedish and all kinds of stuff. So they got him on there, even though he was like clearly a bit too old to be doing what he was doing.
He's the host, the guy that looks like a Chuckle Brother.
Yes, he does look like a Chuckle Brother.
He does.
The third Chuckle Brother.
Yeah,
that is fair. Yeah. You want to hear some quick Ray Cokes facts? You want to hear some Ray Coke facts?
Very quickly. You've only got a couple more minutes left.
Okay. Well, I've told you he's a Belgian DJ. I've told you he speaks several languages. But in 2012 to 2014, Ray Cokes hosted Belgium's Got Talent. 2-year stint hosting Belgium's Got Talent. But no, wait. In 2014, as that came to an end, he got a sweet gig hosting the Swedish Grammys, which he did in 2014. He's an absolute international juggernaut, Ray Cokes. So it's even better to watch him at the beginning of this. There are 2 full, excruciating minutes where he is trying to fill time because the band Menswear are not ready to begin.
Bad. It's so
And
bad.
I don't know if you've ever done this before. Like if you've ever done a bit of public speaking, and you will know that like 2 minutes is an eternity of time. If you have no idea
days and days.
what to say, yeah, and you don't know when the thing that's about to happen is actually, or if it's at all going to happen, you just think, I could just be talking here indefinitely, and you don't know when it's going to happen. 2 full minutes before they come on. And then boom, get Menswear. The great, I'm not saying they're the greatest Britpop band to have ever existed, but one of the greatest Britpop exemplars to have ever existed, in my personal opinion. I want to say that you know how much I love the song Daydreamer, right?
I do. You love it.
And now I've in the last couple of days I've listened to the whole of the album Nuisance by Menswear, and the second album Hey Tempo, which was only released in Japan. But I've plowed my way through that too. I tried to listen to the rarities and B-sides, but found they were just songs that were on those 2 albums, so they were not rarities or B-sides. But I have listened to basically the entire output of Menswear over the last couple of days, and I regret nothing.
Good for you.
I've had a wonderful time. But they were, I think the reason why I wanted to choose Menswear was because, to me, they're kind of like the perfect antithesis to Terrorvision, in the sense that Terrorvision was a band that grafted its way from the late 80s all the way into the late 90s and somehow managed to actually maintain a bit of momentum that whole time just by relentless gigging. Menswear are a band that there was an article in Select magazine in 1994 which about the mod scene in Camden, which is not a thing. And Chris Gentry and what's his bloody name? Johnny Dean, the singer in Menswear, were asked about that because they were big on the Camden scene. And they said, which I gotta think is actually kind of genius. They went, oh, the best band out there right now is definitely Menswear. They're the best band out there right now. At that moment, Menswear didn't exist. There was no such band. There was one song that they'd written together, and they had never gigged, they had never recorded it, they didn't even have a drummer or a bass player, and that song was Daydreamer. And they managed to get on the cover of Melody Maker in 1994, having never released a single piece of music.
That's crazy. That's like a prank. That's what?
Well, I do think Menswear basically were a prank. If you notice, I'm serious. In that TV clip, did you notice what the guitarist was wearing? The second guitarist, I think that it's...
Oh, there's a T-shirt that says like Blag on it.
Just says Blag. Miriam, they were doing it in plain sight. They were telling you, they were telegraphing it. They were saying,
"We're not real.
We're not real band. We've fooled you all. Look at you, you fools."
Wow.
So I kind of love Menswear for that, and also I love Daydreamer because it's just quite a good. Like I've listened to Daydream about 20 times in the last couple of days, and I need to stop, but I won't. Siobhan caught me the other night. She came into the kitchen. I just had my headphones on, and I was just bopping to Daydream. I wasn't ashamed, but I know we're running out of time. But I just want to say, comparing and contrasting Menswear's album Nuisance to Terrorvision's album Regular Urban Survivors, obviously produced by Gil Norton, whereas on this side they had the amazing production of Neil King. Neil King, probably his most famous production job was The Bop Won't Stop, which was a Shakin' Stevens album that came out in 1983. So strong, powerful pedigree from there. They were signed to a record label called London Records. Sounds made up. Doesn't it sound made up? Really does.
Sounds quite made up.
But it was the home of East 17 and obviously Gay Dad, the band everyone remembers from the late 90s.
Yeah.
Everyone loves a bit of Gay Dad. And yeah, so I mean, the story of Menswear really were they managed to get one album out with everyone kind of simultaneously going, this isn't a real band. And some people going, yeah, it is. And then even them sort of chortling behind their floppy hair going, this is not a real band. We've got away with it. We've done them over. But I wanted to ask you, how do either of you feel about the band Menswear and the song Daydreamer?
It's not for me. I'm firmly on the Terrorvision side of this. Not that you have to compare them in all cases, but
Okay.
I was never really into that brand of Britpop.
I understand what
it's
you're saying.
the worst of Britpop, to be honest.
So I was more distracted by the way he was pointing his toe in Daydreamer to listen to the song too much, because I thought that was quite cool. It had like a backward. He pointed his leg backwards. I thought that was quite fun. But the song is Stardust is the other song on the performance, which was on that compilation album, the double tape that I was like one of the first things that I bought, and I think it's on there. And so I knew it like off by heart, and it was quite nice to hear it again.
It's a classic.
So,
it's a
it's a
standard
50-50, review from me.
Well, since I want to tie this all together, because this is what I wanted to say, having listened to the whole album. So this is what I think, ultimately, I'm a man of lyrics. I love a lyric. I'm all about the lyrics.
It's wordy.
So to me, it came down to a simple battle of lyrics, right? Everything else, we can argue about this, but to me, I was like, I want to deeply analyze this. So I've taken one quote, which I think is the best line from Terrorvision's Regular Urban Survivors, and one quote which I believe is the best line from Menswear's Nuisance. And I'll let you simply be the judge. All right.
Do we have to guess which is which?
You're not going to have any problems doing that. But by all means. So now the second one, I probably have to explain the background of this. Okay, so the first one, it's a wonderful lyric. I'm wearing pigtails that my mother bought. In 65, she was the queen. I'm only thinking things that Kafka thought. My hypertension is obscene. I mean, it's a lovely lyric, right?
It's genius.
And that is Tony Wright at the height of his power, apart from Wales and the Dolphins, at the height of his powers, in my view.
I assume there's a lot going on that it's Terrorvision,
Yeah, it's lovely. It doesn't make any sense. There's a few things that literally just don't scan. Like, can you wear pigtails? Can they be bought? I'm perplexed by the whole thing. No, not really. Sure. And then there's this line, right? So I was listening to Menswear. Most of Menswear's lyrics are either oblique or kind of terrible. But then this line really stuck out to me from the ballad on one of their songs, right? Which was this line. It's a song called Pieces of Me, which is a terrible name for a song. I will say. Sex is a secondary thing, doomed to come dumb and king. What's your preference? Come on now and talk some sense.
Oh dear.
You're looking perplexed.
Oh dear.
So that first line, right, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I had to listen to it like 3 times. I had to check the lyrics. Sex is a secondary thing, doomed to come dumb and king. And I was like, well, that literally doesn't scan. And I went, oh, no, I see what he's done there. So he said, sex is a secondary thing, doomed to come, then whether you're dumb or king, but he's made it come dumb and king, which is a kind of crossword style mess up of Kingdom Come. So it's like he's flipped Kingdom Come to Come Dumb and King to make it rhyme with secondary thing. And I was just like, as soon as I heard that, I can see you're horrified. But I just thought,
like that.
I thought, Johnny Dean, that's absolutely savage. That's an amazing line. I genuinely think
that's rubbish.
Do you know which band I thought of?
Shot down in flames.
That's awful.
Shots fired from Miriam's side. Horrified by the work of Johnny Dean.
No, I'm not okay with it.
When you read those lyrics, I thought of another band. If you just to tell me, just to ask me, like, which band did you think this was from the 90s? I would say Suede.
Oh yeah, I mean Suede and Menswear, very closely related.
Yeah,
I would say if anything, Johnny Dean's voice is slightly less annoying.
Oh yeah,
which I mean is not saying much because obviously Brett. I'm just going to call him Brett Suede because I can't remember his surname.
Yeah, I can't.
Brett Suade's voice I find very difficult. So I'd just like also to round up with a final quiz for both of you, since I'm imagining none of you have actually listened to the album Nuisance by Menswear, have you?
No, because you put forward the video thing from MTV, which I watched.
Exactly. And I knew you wouldn't
You
listen
didn't
to
put
the album.
forward the album, so I didn't listen to the album.
And that's absolutely fine. This is why this quiz is going to work.
Okay.
Because
I'll stop being
I'm-
defensive.
Yeah, you just relax yourself. All right. I'm gonna give you 6 song titles, right?
Okay.
And I want you. 3 of them are genuine menswear songs, and 3 of them I've made up. And I want you to see if, from everything you know about menswear, if you can get which ones are real. Okay.
Got
So I'm going
it.
to read them one by one. Just decide on your own. Tell us what you think. Okay. The first one is called 125th West 3rd Street.
Real.
She's gone for real. What are you saying?
There's no way that's a menswear song.
No way, that's a menswear song. Miriam, you're correct. That is a menswear song.
Ding,
That
ding,
is-
ding.
That is track 1 from Nuisance. Okay, song number 2, Pantaloon Crisis.
I think that's fake. I think you did that.
She's saying that's fake. What are you saying?
saying
What
fake.
are you saying, Joe? Pantaloon Crisis.
I'm going menswear.
He's going menswear. Oh, Miriam's taking it into the lead because I definitely made that up. So it's 2 to Miriam, currently 0 to Joe.
Yes.
Okay. Third one, Professor Laserlegs. That's Professor Laserlegs. Is that menswear or did I make it up?
I think that would go well on a Terrorvision album, but not a menswear album.
I'm going to say real. I think it's real.
You're saying Professor Laserlegs. So you've committed to that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna now I know you committed to that. I'm just gonna read back the statement that you, knowing everything that you know about me, you think the song Professor Laserlegs is a real song by Menswear.
Yeah.
It is not. I did make that up. So that's now 1 to Joe, 2 to Mim. Okay, it's getting tense. It's getting tense now. Third song, I'll Manage Somehow.
Real.
Yeah, I'm going real too.
You've both gone real. Okay, that is a real Menswear song. This is exciting. The third one is Little Miss Pinpoint Eyes. Little Miss Pinpoint Eyes.
I don't know.
It's a
I'm going to
tough
say
one.
real.
Miriam's gone real. Little Miss Pinpoint Eyes. Little Miss Pinpoint Eyes. the more you say it, the more fun it is.
Yeah, I'm going real too.
Both going real. Oh, it is real. Is this one real or not? Dry Rot Foxtrot. That's Dry Rot
Fake.
Foxtrot. Dry Rot Foxtrot.
I think that's fake.
You're saying that's fake? Dry
Mhm.
Rot Foxtrot. It's
Yeah.
fine. Okay. Miriam's saying it's fake.
I'm going to go real then.
He's a gambler.
Yeah.
He's a born gambler. He's gone real. Joe, I'm afraid the gamble has not paid off in this instance. Of course I made up Dry Rot Foxtrot. I mean, genuinely, if they poorly rhyme, they're bound to be mine. That's what I'll say.
Also, because he said
That
that
wasn't
3
very-
were real and 3 were fake, and that was the third one.
Oh, right. That's sorry. Yeah. Not paying attention.
I didn't
It's
like.
cost me there.
See, that's the other thing. I was so sure that no one would be keeping track of that I thought I could get away with it. But unfortunately, Miriam's admin brain is too strong.
I can add up.
She was keeping a mental tally.
Rubbish rhymes are a very 90s thing as well, weren't they?
Yeah, it's true.
Lazy rhymes.
So yes, unfortunately, what I can say, which I think is exciting for everyone on a positive note, Joe, is that there's 3 song titles which are absolutely up for grabs because they're not menswear songs, and they're the song titles Pantaloon Crisis, Professor Laserlegs, and Dry Rot Foxtrot. Any of those are good to go. So let's
Get
start
on it, guys.
Start
You know,
writing. them.
Yeah.
That's a big chunk of the album done.
Professor Laserlegs has also got a good side project.
But yeah, I think so.
Just
I mean, if I saw that written down, I mean, I've just seen it written down now, and it got excited.
What genre would that be?
What does it even mean? I don't know. I think it might be its own sort of. It might be out on its. I think it's like 2 things smashed together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what it is yet. It's a sound clash. People don't use that term anymore because I don't know what it means. It's a sound
I'm
clash.
surprised that like Little Miss Pinpoint Eyes wasn't made up. I was scared to kind of make an answer for that because I thought you had made that up.
Yeah, well,
weird one.
That was the one that really hooked me into the idea of the quiz because when I read Little Miss Pinpoint Eyes, I thought that sounds like some shit I'd make up. But I'm glad. I hope you enjoyed that very brief delve into the world of menswear. I would encourage both of you go and listen to Nuisance. Maybe not today, ideally today, but maybe not, but do it. Do listen to Nuisance by Menswear. It's a life-affirming experience. And, then you can hear tracks like Little Miss Pinpoint Eyes and 125 West 3rd Street.
I think as you humoured me on the Terrorvision, it's the least I could do, so I'll give it a go.
I look forward to us discussing what kind of menswear tattoo you'll be getting, because I feel you will be sold. They've reformed, by the way, just to let you know. Menswear they were starting to, just before the pandemic, were starting to put together new material. And then I guess the final thing to wrap it up with, which is probably going to be sad. But as ever, Joe, in these situations, I decided there was something I need to do. So I thought, how accessible is Tony Wright? How accessible is Tony Wright? It turns out quite accessible. Tony Wright's out there. He's on Facebook. He's on Twitter. He responds to things. He's got an email address. So I sent Tony Wright quite a lengthy message.
No way.
And I could see that it had been sent, but he had remained quite quiet on social media all day. So I was like, maybe he just hasn't had a chance to read it. So I haven't checked yet. I'm about to check now. It's been about 48 hours if Tony Wright has responded to my message.
Oh my goodness.
It doesn't mean he won't respond. It just means he hasn't responded yet. And to ruin it for all the 6 or 7 listeners, through the magic of podcast, this will come out significantly after we record it. So if he does respond, I'll stitch it in, or rather Neil will, and it'll be like you never knew the join. But let's have a look. Did Tony Wright respond?
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I'm going to a message section because I had to message him on Facebook because we perversely have a mutual friend.
I want to know a mutual friend. Is it Rick Witter?
Name drop.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
There's been no response from Tony.
no. Oh.
Snubbed by Tony Wright.
Did you tell him the story about the cardboard guitar?
I didn't know the story about the cardboard guitar, Joe, but it's good because now I can add that to like really put the thumb screws on him. Because I'll be like,
because obviously you're going to bombard him with messages now.
I say Joe's crying now. Joe's crying. I've never seen him cry before, but he's crying, and all the tears are going onto his cardboard guitar, which he got
just
out,
wilting.
making it go all floppy.
As we speak.
Oh.
Is that what you want? Because that's what you've done, Tony, right? But yeah, unfortunately, he hasn't responded. But I did read in a very recent interview of Tony Wright that one of his favourite things to do is to build dry stone walls.
Yeah,
so
he did it professionally.
Yeah. So I imagine Tony Wright's probably just got better things to do with his time than respond to the like shitty likes of me.
I mean, if you've been to the Yorkshire moors, it's all dry stone walls and they're all falling down. He's a very busy man.
I think it's nice to think that you could go up to, Bronte country, stalk about in your walking boots, and every wall you look at, you can think, did Tony Wright of Terrorvision build that dry stone wall? And he really could have done. There's a good chance he did.
Yeah.
I think on that thought, it's a beautiful way to leave it. Maybe this time next year, as spring's coming round, maybe Tony will respond. We'll be sitting, having a cup of tea on a nice tartan blanket, admiring a beautiful dry stone wall that Tony Wright has made, whilst, I don't know, Rick Witter sings a cappella whilst jangling his tambourine. Can you imagine that scene?
I can.
Sun slowly sets. And then just as it does, Tony Wright thinks, all right, Rick, you and me, let's sing Hide the Dead Girl.
Of all the hits, keeping it upbeat. Nice.
The 90s.